Good morning, Mr. Rajoshi sir.
Yes, good morning. Good morning to everyone.
So we are still waiting on other panel members. So once they will arrive, I think we'll start. Is that okay, sir?
Yes, yes. Am I audible clearly?
Absolutely, absolutely clear and loud. Thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and warm welcome to the second day of Biotech Industry Conclave. I welcome all the speakers, delegates, students, faculty fraternity, scientific personnel, and corporate delegates. So today is the second day of Biotech Industry Conclave, Alliance and Deputation, empowering the backbone of biotechnology. And we are having the third session. The session will be moderated by Dr. Srinivas Patnaik, Dean School of Biotechnology at KIIT University. Dr. Patnaik earned his Master's in Biotechnology from University of Goa and PhD from Institute of Life Sciences, Bhubaneswar, in molecular oncology field. After his PhD, he obtained a STA fellowship from World Health Organization and went on to work in Lyon, France. After that, he worked as a research scientist at Ohio State University, USA, and then he joined School of Biotechnology as associate professor. Currently, he is heading the school as Dean School of Biotechnology. He is a seasoned biotech professional and experienced cancer biology researcher. He is member of various scientific and international research organizations. He has published his paper in journals of international repute. May I request Dr. Patnaik to please carry over. Dr. Patnaik, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary, for the introduction. I don't know whether I deserve all these accolades, but definitely thank you so much for the word. So I welcome all the speakers. We are really grateful to have you on board here in the second day of this biotech industry conclave, in the HR conclave. And my dear faculty members and my beloved students who are attending this conclave today in this platform. So today we have very esteemed speakers who are going to share their thought process, their opinions, their suggestions, and their guidance on the topic human resources, the fostering of knowledge sharing and harnessing the power of science. Let me have the privilege of introducing this session and our esteemed speakers. The HR department has the key role of fostering the transition from science-oriented to commerce-oriented thinking and action. In this current changing socio-economic climate, they are the ones responsible for bringing in mergers and acquisitions, in new skilled employees, and introducing helpful formal management tools. Today, we have 4 panelists and they are leaders in their own fields. The first panel member, what we have today is Mr. Rajorshi Ganguly, President and Global HR Head, Alchem Laboratories Limited. He currently holds the position of President and Global HR Head at Alchem Laboratories Limited. He is a senior human resource professional with about 27 years of experience of managing HR in sales and marketing, manufacturing and R&D environment in large organizations and diverse industries, global context and culture, experience in the field of strategic HR, change management, talent management, competency modeling, leadership development, training and capability building, performance management, employee engagement, innovation management, and business partnering. He has managed complex HR responsibilities in India and several geographic places such as USA, UK, Russia, Germany, Mexico, Latin America, just to name a few. He is a well-networked, seasoned trainer who contributes frequently on different HR topics, which are covered in online and print journals. He also has been awarded several times in recently and featured in India's Best 50 HR Leaders 2021 by White Page International. I welcome you, sir, to this platform.
Thank you. Thank you.
The second panel member we have is Mr. Dinesh Reddy, Associate Director, Talent Acquisition PPT Incorporation. More than a decade experience in recruitment domain, experience in expertise in building teams in India and other Asia Pacific countries. In current role, responsible for driving and delivering recruitment function in 9 countries in Asia Pacific, including India, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Taiwan, and South Korea, having the headcounts of 4,500 employees. He is instrumental in growing the organization from 100 to 1,000 headcounts in multiple countries in APAC. Have been a guest speaker and panel member in most of the IIMs in 2020. I welcome you, sir, to this platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our third panel member is Ms. Priyanka Thatoi, HR Business Partner, Novartis. She is currently the HR Business Partner in Novartis. She has a master's degree in microbiology and PG diploma in Human Resources Management from XLRI, Jamshedpur. She has more than 12 years of experience in talent acquisition and in supporting biotechnology professionals in shaping better careers. She comes with a deep understanding of industry hiring trend and current developments. Her experiences, including hiring from all top universities across the country to set up high performance teams in the pharma industry and helping create onboarding projects that bridge the gap between early talent and industry requirement. For last 4 years, she has been the talent management and talent development portfolio enabling aspiring associates to develop themselves holistically in order to be successful in the career in pharma industry. In her current role, she is a part of flagship program for university corporate collaboration, career planning, and personal development. She is an avid reader and takes keen interest in studying subjects like psychology and human behavior. Welcome you, madam, to this platform.
Thank you so much.
Then our fourth panel member in this session is Ms. Ishita Medekar, CHRO Metropolis Healthcare. Currently, she is the Chief Human Resource Officer at Metropolis Healthcare. She is committed and passionate human resource professional with 20 years plus experience in varied industries, in telecom, consultancy, and pharma industries with more than 15 years experience in strategy and systems designing and operations. She thrives on strong business acumen, providing the necessary strategy and advisory prospect. She has the proven ability to lead the HR function and be key member of the leadership team and work closely with key stakeholders to create and deliver the HR strategy for business and ensure that the business objectives are met. So today we have our esteemed speakers and panel members for this session. And first I would like to request Mr. Rajoshi Ganguly to present his view on the session theme, that is human resources, the fosters of knowledge sharing and harnessing the power of science. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this session of KIIT University. It's indeed an honor, and good morning to everyone. This topic of HR fostering knowledge in the organization obviously is a very vast subject, and it can take days to even deliberate on this topic. What I would like to probably take few minutes to speak on is, how the whole, environment and ecosystem is changing for the kind of, the world of learning, and where HRVC is playing a role. See, I'm sure all of you must have, you've been reading, and there are multiple surveys, research done by different industry bodies, etc., which has really pointed out to a couple of very sharp findings. One is that, the rate of skill obsolescence is extremely very high in today's context. And if you take out any report by, let's say, World Economic Forum, International Labor Organization, even our own CII, FICCI, you'll find that all countries, and even especially countries like India, they are actually looking at a huge skill gap. Now, when you read the topic of skill gap, sometimes it seems very alarming that, I mean, if there's a prediction that by 2030, probably there will be a skill gap of approximately 50% or more. Means what the industry wants and what we get, there will be probably a gap of 50%. There is another, interesting finding I read some time back, which says that all of us, and we are not insulated from this, that all of us, the skill that we possess today in our respective fields, all of us will have to at least the 50% of the skills that we possess will become defunct in the next few years. Means we have to constantly renew our learning process. So this is one background. The other background is obviously in a country like India, there are thousands of universities, institutions, and they are ensuring that a lot of youngsters are passing out every year. They say that I think in 2019-20 there was a census which says that India has about 600 million youth population, which means they're about to enter the employment market. So one hand we have a huge population entering the market. One hand there is a skill gap. On the business side, on the science side, if you look at, there is a constant change in technology, newer avenues of science is opening up in all fields, not just pharma and all. All this is making the whole learning process very dynamic. And this is where, HR is finding it extremely difficult or challenging to manage this kind of a, how do you kind of constantly make sure that you have the right skill talent in your workforce? I think that's the biggest challenge for all of us to address. Coupled with this, there's another interesting fact that, the profile of our, not just, my organization, the profile of every organization, the profile of the workforce of every organization is changing. In fact, I did some research on Gen Z, and while most organizations today have about 60 to 65%, 70% millennials, those who are typically born 95. But at the same time, the Gen Z workforce is coming to the, the companies. So in most companies, it's hovering around 10 to 15%, and that will grow up to 30, 40% in the next one decade. And we see that, this millennial cohort and Gen Z cohort, they have a very different preferred way of learning and building skills, which is very different from the generation we are in or the earlier generation. So all this is making the whole learning process, fostering knowledge, a very challenging subject for the human resource. And, few things which is emerging from all this is, how do we kind of, one hand, of course, rely on the education institute to ensure that while they do not let go of the core science and other functions for which people take admission, of course, that should be imbibed in each and every student. But how do you also kind of prepare students to adopt the right skills which is necessary for the corporate or any other sector that they are getting into? The other hand, for people like us internally in the organization, the biggest challenge, and I'll talk about it maybe in the subsequent question, is how do you integrate learning and work? The earlier concept of take out a set of people, send them to a learning center or a classical training center is no more valid. How do we make the learning so interesting that people learn while they are on the go? So these are my initial thoughts on the subject, and I'll be very happy to listen to all my other fellow panelists, and maybe then we could deliberate further. So this is where we are today, and these are the challenges we are facing. Over to you, sir. I think you are on mute. Professor Patnaik, you are on mute.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ganguly. Sorry about that. So now I request Mr. Reddy to give his viewpoints.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as Rajashri said, in fact, if we look at the talent landscape in current scenario, especially in healthcare, there is advancements happening at very fast rate. For example, things which are happening in terms of research and development, in terms of commercialization of any product. And as we all know that pharmaceutical industries are such an industry wherein the farmers have to really have a big pockets in terms of their R&D spends. When they spend a lot of money, they really want to have their drugs in the market as soon as possible. So I firmly believe on three things here. In fact, I would touch base on this in detail in the next further discussion. So most of the pharmas or healthcare industries depends on cost, and then time, and then quality. These are the three things which are really important. And these three things can be really, really regulated, or can be like, of course, obviously, our ultimate aim is we need to bring the cost down, right? And we need to have the high quality. And we need to have the drugs delivered on time, or rather research completed and drug delivered into the market on time. So when you have these challenges in front of us, one thing that comes to, one primary thing we all need to address as industry leaders or probably HR organization is having the right talent on a right job, right? Of course, we do, in a certain extent, we do. But as I said, the things are changing very rapidly. When things are changing very rapidly, organizations are looking forward to have people on the board who are having more learning agility, somebody who's willing to take more risk, somebody who's willing to take additional responsibilities. And in HR terms, we call it as transferable skills. It's not that you're a microbiologist or you're a biochemist and you say, I'll just do the biochemistry, I don't want to do any other work. No, it's not like that. Your basic science remains the same. On top of that, how effectively you can utilize your basic science into further advancements is more required. And that's where most of the companies are trying to work around, build around, and and that is giving us a lot of opportunity as well. On the opportunity side, or looking more on a opportunistic point of view, I think it is creating a lot of opportunities for the people and the students as well, because the millennials, I completely agree, they are like a different set of people. And I would call them as probably vulnerable as well, because they want change. They are not like you and me, people who are on the call. They want every day. They don't like if every day is the same. They want day-to-day activities to be different. They feel happy when they are challenged more. So having that kind of a mindset, I think the learnings, and as I said, the transferable skills, and people willing to take more responsibility, and people willing to jump in and learn more, contribute more, I think that is something is what we are all looking to have from an industry standpoint of view. And millennials are pretty much there. People on this call, I see that all of you are ready. Don't worry, none of you are not ready yet or something like that. You are all ready. The kind of exposure that you have, because I remember, when personal, I remember I created, I think probably my email ID when I completed my masters, because I wanted to apply for the jobs. Until then, I had no idea about the internet, this artificial intelligence, all those things. So you guys are already almost a decade ahead of the people who are already there in industry, right? So you guys have a lot of tools, and those tools are just one click away. Earlier, imagine the availability of internet or things like that, but now you have everything on your hand phone or the smartphone itself, and you are learning very easy, right? And at the same time, from organization standpoint of view, how we are trying to see whether this person has more like transferable skill or willing to take risk or something during the selection process itself. We have come up with some of the artificial intelligence based tools. Probably I'll touch base again a little bit on this, which will help us to understand the candidate adaptability and also their cognitive ability. Like, we ask them to play some games on on an interview call or maybe interview video, and that is not about the gaming or something. And our ultimate aim is to understand their cognitive abilities, so that whenever there is some change is happening in the organization, we can put them front as a front runners and make the show run. So these are a couple of my thoughts, Dr. Srinivas. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dinesh, for your views. And I really like the way you said, explained the, kind of mindset of this new generation. So thank you so much. So let me request Ms. Priyanka Tatoi to put her viewpoints on this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Patnaik, and really privileged to share the screen with Rajeshri sir and Shita ma'am. Definitely privileged. And Dinesh, I think we have known each other since a decade. Wonderful to see you on the screen and share share thoughts with you. So to start with, I think Rajeshri sir has actually framed it so well that I don't have to delve into a new topic, and with Dinesh bringing in a lot of practical aspects to it. What I will be bringing in, or what I will be highlighting at this point of time, will be more on the environment that we are going through. Like, this is certainly something we all are experiencing at this point of time, whether you are a tenured veteran in the industry or an aspiring fresher, experiencing a VUCA environment like never before. Like, that is what we are doing right now. The challenges and the opportunities the pandemic has also brought in for all of us has changed each one of us, our ways of working, and to a considerable extent. And where I will focus more is on the understanding of capability rather than skill, understanding of mindset over a skill set. Maybe we will delve over it while we go through the session, but I think it is an overall holistic understanding of your capability rather than skill wise. I'm an expertise, my expertise lies in this particular subject. This is where I do. But I think it's an overall holistic understanding you have to have if you really have to work on your capability, because your sustainability comes from your capability, not from the skills that you learn. So maybe we will delve over it in later stage. And I completely understand the generation which is now, while we tell them they are very privileged, they know they have a lot of access, which we did not have. I think I'll take a flipper side to it, because we had the luxury of having a slower paced environment, taking time to learn. They live in a much more competitive era. They are much more ambitious. They have to learn a lot more. Information is pouring in from all sides. So what is actually the method to learn and grow? I think a little bit on that as well. So I will pause here so that we can continue with a more structured conversation later. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. It was really nice to hear those understanding the capabilities points. So definitely we'll go ahead with the discussion in the later stage of time. So now I would like to request Ms. Ishita Medekar to put her viewpoints on the topic. Ishita.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege for me to be in this platform and speaking to almost 100, 120 odd people. I think what Mr. Dinesh already has put in, there are two key points take away for everybody in this forum. One is, transferability of the knowledge, which is very important, and the dynamism with which things are changing. How do we keep ourselves updated and current? That is the key the new generation has to, keep in mind, that, the moment they're learning something, after a few months, it's totally outdated and something new has come in. And that is the challenge which they are going through. But as rightly put across by Mr. Dinesh is, the generation is also like that. The new kids which are coming into the market for job, they're almost ready with it. They are so done with, these kind of apps. They're experimenting with new social media platforms. They're changing the gadgets every day. So they're born with tech. It's not like us who got introduced to tech almost after 18, 20 years of our life. The day they are born, they are with technology, and they are so inquisitive, and that is what is the need of the hour in the new tech organizations which are coming up. These organizations also need people who are innovative also. So innovation is something which will drive the future talent. And the agenda for HR is going to get tougher and tougher. How do we get these softer aspects in continuity? So, people come with certain skills, certain knowledge. They come and they go, and their stability is always a question. So continuity also becomes a very big challenge for the HR fraternity. But I'm sure we will all find our ways how to ensure that the knowledge is retained in the organization, and there are sustainable processes and systems which will not disrupt the business for any organization. Yeah. So good, looking forward to more such thoughtful conversation, thought-provoking conversations here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ishita. I think Rajeshri Dinesh, Ishita, Priyanka, you all have set the stage ready for the discussion to move forward. So I'll just make it a little bit focused, and I would like to hear your opinions and suggestions in these, specific points. Like, first, I would like to request Mr. Rajoshi to give his viewpoints on knowledge dissemination in future of work era, like bite-sized learning, like experiential learning and social learning. What is your thought about this particular topics?
Yeah, I think this is another very kind of, much talked about topic within organizations. How do you disseminate learning? And, before I respond to some of the newer ways of how we are, all of us, I'm sure every company, they are kind of grappling with it. And I think we have to go back to what the context is. As we all know that, the profile of learners and employees are changing. Today, we are having more and more people who are coming to the organization who are tech savvy. They started handling a mobile probably when they were just few months old, compared to our generation, when they touched the first mobile. I touched my first mobile probably when I was 29 years old. And today, when the youngest son grew up, I think he started fiddling with a phone when he was 2.9 months old. So that's the kind of thing, how life is today. The second is, the attention span is going down because of the, in our days, the communication was limited. Information was around, but one had to dig. Today, every day from the time we wake up, you are bombarded with information. Everything is around you. The third is the expectation from, people. And, I think Dinesh touched on it. The learning curve is expected to be shorter. Today, organizations are in such a rush to deliver product services that they don't expect that, I get somebody and I have the luxury of training for the next 1 or 2 years. They want people to start, running from the next day itself. So with all this background, I think the classical system of, bringing people to one place and getting them trained, I think that's something, part of it would be, of course, relevant, but you have to also harness the power of different methods available to you. So some of the things like all of us are doing and trying to see which works better, I think, we use a lot of these augmented reality, virtual reality platforms to train people so that they get a feel of actual work they are going to do right at the training stage itself. People are using, because see, there are different types of learners. So you have to even adapt your learning dissemination methods to suit the learner's profile. So some places people use gamification nowadays, simulation, micro learning is of course very much there because today people don't have the time to come and sit in a place and study for next probably 2-3 days. So how do we integrate the work and learning? A classic example, let's say in our kind of industry, in our company, for example, 65% of our employees are in sales. So they are medical reps. They are spread out in 600 towns and cities in the country. So their day starts with going to a doctor, sitting in their cabin, waiting for the doctor to give you the time. So how do I integrate the learning in this waiting period? So, how do I give access to mobile-based learning or, a small chip? Suppose the person has 5 minutes time to absorb something. Can I give a module which is just 5 minutes duration as opposed to, the sit in the classroom for 5 hours and absorb? So these things are changing. Of course, there are other methods. Many companies are using like podcasts, storytelling method, of course, the online and other things are already there. The last important changes what we are also doing is, how are we moving from LMS to LXP, from the learning management system method where as an admin you push training to how the learner choose what they want to actually learn. So these are the ways, we are trying various ways of disseminating training. It's no more the one classical, way of making you sit in a training room and train. Maybe that would still exist, but that may not be the main way of training going forward. So that's my view on this subject.
Thank you. Any other panelist who wants to share their views on this particular point? Priyanka? No?
All right, if you want me to add it, I think Sir has actually given, I mean, if I may call Rajeshri Sir, he has given a actual snippet of how important it is. And I wouldn't only relate it to people of this generation. I think it is for the schedules that we have, the kind of deliverables we have, the way we are trying to have a work-life balance, especially with pandemic coming in. I don't think we have the luxury of having classroom or sessions or sitting at one place and then learning. We have all become agile. Work-life integration has become important. So the flexibility that has to be brought around with learning is really, really high. And that is exactly where, say, a podcast or a snippet learning or capsule learning comes into picture, where we have platforms which actually give you the exact information that we need and how accurately we can integrate it with how we want to apply it. So I know our entire session is somehow around learning, sharing, and understanding how things are moving and how we actually integrate that into our own capability to grow. So maybe we will discuss about it later. But as of now, this is all I wanted to share, because it's just not about the new generation. It's across, like I would actually apply it to a veteran in the industry, to an aspiring leader. Learning is a continuous thing, and you have to make time for it. But how do you make time when you just have 24 hours in a day? So I think bit-sized learning is taking up, and it is actually a very effective and impactful method of learning. So I'm all game for bit-sized learning.
Great. Thank you so much. So I think moving on to the second thought, what we have for this session is like, what are the future capabilities? Future capability doesn't hinge on past performances, but future predictions. So capabilities are getting acquired. What is your viewpoints on this, Priyanka, if you may?
Sure, I think it will be a continuation to what we were already talking. However, I'll try to break it down into certain aspects so it's easier for people to relate. Because when you talk about theories, methods, models, I think we have enough of them everywhere. But breaking them into sizable understanding, methods of understanding is what I'm trying to do, or bring it to everyone at a very simplified format. The first thing, like we were talking about, is upskilling with the changing environment. When demands have been higher and the competition has only grown, there is pressure to deliver quickly, grow quickly, solutionize quickly. So like Dinesh had touched upon it earlier, like if we look at a scientist today, we do not expect the scientist to be a PhD who understands the subject really well. We want someone who may not be an expert, but does have an understanding of AI, understands how the market works, understands how the forecasting works, where the person can play a role. Like, for example, if we talk about the COVID vaccination programs that were ongoing, I think all the industries were under huge pressure to deliver within a timeline which was fairly, they did not have so much of time to do the trials, go through the details. Where do you think that agility, that fast-track approach is coming from? I think it's a lot of cross-functional collaboration. It is about people understanding what they do with each other. A lot of AI brought into picture, a lot of digitalization brought into picture, where you can actually use your data in a way. So how do we do that? Like if I'm a scientist, I think there has to be a mindset. I should have a mindset which is very important these days. Am I ready to learn more things? And like I said earlier, I'm not again putting it to a generation. I'm putting it for everyone. Like today, if I'm a scientist and I want to add value to what is happening, it is very important for me that I understand what is happening overall. So having a holistic understanding of what is happening in the market, where the market is going, what am I doing, where is my role, that becomes a very important thing. Secondly, like we all mentioned, staying learning agile and having a holistic approach to increase capability. And when I say capability, it's just not the intellectual capability or the subject capability. It's all about the physical and emotional capability also. Organizations, I think this is where they have to cater a very big role. You actually have to provide people where they can grow their capabilities, because capabilities is what is going to make you sustainable rather than your skills, because I think Ishita mentioned it, Dinesh mentioned it. Your skills will become redundant maybe 3-4 months until unless the next product is up in the market. But what is going to make you more tenacious, more resilient, and stay in the race is your capability. And that is a holistic picture. So that is where I would like everyone to understand and focus. It's just that it also needs a mindset shift. That is what I would say, because the way we are conditioned from our schools, from our colleges, people, neighbor, I think Rajeshri sir said that the way we have grown up, the environment around this, there's a natural conditioning that comes to us. But the way we are growing, the kind of ambiguity we are facing, there has to be a constant shift in mindset. So mental agility is also something that we really have to constantly see where it comes from. I think it comes from a great deal of self-awareness. Where do I stand? What am I doing? What I've learned? What am I looking at? So these little aspects, apart from the industrial aspects of learning and skills, is also very important, which people have to imbibe. Second thing is how I think talking about the third thing, when we talk about feedback formats, when I come to industries, or when even in peer feedback sessions, or when we are talking about people, earlier methods were more on feedback, like this is how you did, this is how your performance was in last year, or this is how you did in your 11th standard, so your 12th standard is going to be this way. I think we are moving away from that as well. We do not want to see too much on the 11th standard right now. Now we want to focus how good you can do on your 12th standard. That's a futuristic approach for me. And I think all the students, all the managers, and especially we as HR professionals really need to look at what potential the associate is bringing in, rather than what was the performance last year. So now moving our focus from performance to potential is very important, because that is our agility part, and that is what is going to help us. Your high performance might not be your high performance always, but potential is something that you can always leverage on. I'm just touching upon a few things. Now coming to career progression. If you look at the industry now, and I have been very surprised, because I come from a small town where I studied in a very conventional manner. And I knew this is what I have to study, this is what I have to do. But the way my career unfolded, the way I knew the market, it's just not about the linear career progression or spiral career progression. I think these days we see a lot of zigzag career progression. What is our role in that? I think there are two ways of role in it. First, if you're an aspirant, you have to be open and agile, that if this comes to me tomorrow, am I mentally ready for it? Am I ready to study about it? Am I open to know something new, or I'm too much into my own cocoon of study? Secondly, what are the opportunities the industry or as an HR professional, when we work so closely with the business, how open are we to actually cater and experience new kind of people in new roles? Like I'll just cite a few examples so that people understand these are practical things which are happening. So we have a head compliance and legal person in Novartis who actually comes from a medical background, which is, the person would have never thought about it when the person was studying medicine. So, but when it comes to clinical trials, regulatory, legal compliance, so it is very important that as HR professionals and as industry, being a part of the industry, we create opportunities which are very important, where people can experiment, be open to experiment, and be open to give people chances. So that is what I would talk about career progression. And the fourth thing that I would like to touch upon is, again, being open to all the models, whether it is build, buy, borrow. Don't focus on how you are learning. I think in our generation, the method of learning was very important, how we are learning. So I would say focus more on the content, less on the method. Focus more on your career, less on your job. Focus more on capability, less on the capital. That is how I would like to put it, because our focus has to change because our goals are constantly changing. That is how I would like to say. It's easier to say than actually do it. I completely understand, and we do not, like Rajeshri sir said, we can talk about it for 3 days. It's such a vast topic. I think I can go on for 3 days if you just break it down to how and what. But be it the initial stages of your career, when you are a fresher aspirant, or when you're planning for a succession planning. I think even today, what we actually look for is the agility the person brings in, the variety the person brings in, the depth the person brings in. And how does it come? It typically comes with how capable you are over these years, not how skilled you are. So my focus would be more on capability and mindset rather than skill set and the subject expertise. I will stop here. I know I've spoken a lot. If anyone else also would like to share a few views.
Thank you so much. Even in research field, when we do basic research in our labs as a cancer researcher for the last 25 years, we also have the similar kind of situations where we really want our students to capture the current need of the society or the scientific spirit, but students are not yet ready to take those things. And in industry, you have professionals like HR professionals like you guys, so who motivate the people and take along with you. However, we are scientists, it's very difficult for us to do your job. But great thing, I'm noting down all the points because I'm going to experiment now all these things on my PhD scholars. Thank you so much. So now thank you. So let's move on to the third theme. What I was thinking is, in the post-pandemic world, corporates are required to be nimble and digitally savvy. Generally, healthcare companies have always been pretty inward-looking. They take time to change. What is your opinion, Ishita?
So Srinivas, I think the question has been put in such a way with all the healthcare professionals, HR heads sitting here. It's nowhere that I can agree with you. I will have to disagree. There's no choice because, saying that healthcare companies are only inward looking and are taking a lot of time to change is not which I would like to agree with, coming from healthcare background myself. So digital evolution actually in healthcare also started at that same time where every other industry started. It's not that we are very primitive and we have not taken the initial steps. But yes, pandemic definitely accelerated the transformation. It helped us transform faster than what we would have expected. So if it would have taken 5 years, I think we have done it in 2 years. And that's where we have been able to remain agile and relevant in this context. And the main driver here is not the organization. It is the consumer actually which drives it. If the customer is ready, then why can't we be ready? And that's the challenge for the business. So the consumer is saying that, we need things which are on the mobile, on the go, instant, and always knowing about what is the current status of things. They want to be more informed. Then we have to provide that. Now, talking about inward looking or outward looking, I see it as the, two different sides of the same coin. One will lead to the other. You can't say that, you can only be inward looking because you have to start with inward looking, right? So once you are inward looking, you improve your processes. It's all about efficiency, speed, sustainability, quality, all that comes inward looking. So once you start doing things inward, with the help of digital interventions, only then you can go outward and commit to the consumer or the customer that, this is the kind of experience we are getting. So it cannot be one, either or, it has to be both. And without one improving internally, it's the basic foundation, right? So if you don't improve the foundation, there's no way you can give the consumer the right kind of experience. But yes, when you talk about, taking a little longer time in transformation, which I will just park it for a minute saying, pandemic has accelerated. But, there are two sets of organizations which have come up in healthcare. One is the old big giants, which are already there. They are health first companies. They are primarily healthcare companies and not digital companies. Whereas the new companies which have come into the foray, like the aggregators or the digital app companies who are, service platforms which are available, they are new babies. So they had a clean slate to begin their work and they got the best practices. They started at some level. But, making changes to a machinery which is already running definitely takes time. So there is some kind of foundation which has already been built. So here the key role of HR is to bring in the change management. How do you change the mindset of people to accept and accept the new things which are coming in? So there you see a lot of resistance, and there you'll find, old versus new kind of a conflict happening in people. So that is the role of HR, to make people accept new age technology, accept new tools which are coming, and that threat that machine will replace manpower definitely is not there, because there's some kind of emotional, mental connect which is definitely required in all aspects of the job. It's just that it will free them from the mundane, repetitive work and give them opportunity to do something more intellectual, more innovative. Those kind of opportunities should be cascaded and shown to the talent internally, so that they accept the change. They prove that they are agile, and they are accepting to deliver extraordinary results through the digital transformation. So while it has already happened for all of us, we already passed through that accelerated phase. We have adopted new means of working, new means of digital technology helping us. Now the choices, organizations who will adopt and take it further will be the guys who will remain relevant. And if people fall back to the earlier model and say what was working with us last 2 years is good enough, they will perish, obviously. So I don't think any of us are sitting in that place where we would want to go back to the old ways of working, rather than adopting what has made our life easier, simpler, and more action oriented. So that's where I keep this question, and I feel that yes, healthcare companies are nowhere behind. We have been active all through the pandemic. We have evolved all through the pandemic, and we still remain relevant.
As you rightly said, it's not a choice. You have to go through it.
Okay.
So this particular choice came, suddenly out of nowhere, and we have to take it. Right now, the situation is my kid knows better than me about how to operate this Zoom and all these online platforms. So that is where we are in last 1.5 years. So thank you so much, Ishita. So now I think the fourth thought we had is with phygital on card, pharma has to become like elephant can dance, sala, whatever. So they acquire capability or buy capability than building it. What is your viewpoints on this, Dinesh?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Srinivas. So, I mean, on a lighter note, in fact, this phygital is a word I have been hearing probably from since, ever since the pandemic has started, I believe. More frequently, more often, I've been hearing this. As I said, on a lighter note, when I put this on my Outlook, it always says it's a typo error, because this word never existed in the past, probably. Right? So, I mean, just a benefit of the, even of course, I myself learned about this word, to be honest, when I heard it first time. So, for a benefit of audience, it's a combination of physical and the digital, right? I remember one of the conference, I think I saw one presentation from one IT healthcare company, a vice president who was presenting some data. He was talking about digitization and process improvements in one of the things, and he showed up one diagram wherein there is a one human hand getting connected to robo hand. So this is called the physical. It's like technology comes with a physical or human connect, right? So that's about this. I mean, coming to the point about the physical thing happening in healthcare, I think probably I'll go back to, I mean, I'll take 2 steps back to Ishita's discussion. I completely go with her thoughts. Healthcare has been always, I would say, in a front runner, or probably always proactive in terms of adopting the digitalization process or digital related things, or maybe AI or machine learning. And you may have heard about even health economics and outcome research. These are some of the data related things which healthcare has already using it very widely. Yes, but after pandemic, we call it as, I mean, there is one proverb, right? Necessity is mother of invention. So we got into a situation wherein we had to invent something overnight. I remember, I mean, I had to tell my personal situation. I remember, I think March 21st, where there was, this entire country has gone on lockdown. In fact, I had the same situation in other countries too, and we had to manage onboarding in different countries. So we had no clue how to do it. Then overnight, we just build a process. We contacted whomsoever people are there through emails and the telephones, whatever is there, and we made sure that online process, I mean, onboarding is completed for that batch of 16 people, which was a very tough game. Imagine we had all privileged to do it on physical. I'm sure it would have taken 3 days for us to figure out. because we have liberty of time, liberty of resources. Generally, we go with a leverage or a privilege of time and things like that. So it's about the necessity we are into, and then especially since we're talking more on the learning part. So this physical or digital thing have come up. This one has bring a lot of digital or e-learning things. For example, I remember, I'm sure in most of the companies, we had this LMS, learning management system, mostly based on internet. But now, after pandemic, we have launched a mobile application. Even the ATS, application tracking system, where candidates can apply. Earlier it was there, of course, it was there mobile friendly, but we made it mobile friendly for all mobile users, be it like your iPhone user, Android user, or Windows user. So that's the kind of change that is coming up, right? In a different aspects. Coming into healthcare, as I said, couple of examples to give. I was just reading some of the articles just to understand this physical thing in the past. In India, we have Roche as a company who has a glucometers. So they have adapted this digital thing in 2017 itself. They added those glucometers into one of the app called My Sugar app, wherein the patient can track their glucose levels on regular basis. I mean, it's like how our fitness app works, more or less the same thing. And then same data goes to your physician as well, and so that your physician has a track of your glucose, and your physician gets an alert in their your mobile saying that so and so patient today's blood glucose level is this. Based on that, doctor immediately prescribe the medicine, or he may say that you don't have to take insulin for today, or you may need to take 2 shots X or something like that. So this has been happening across in terms of physical or digitization into the healthcare, right? But in this, one flip side, or probably a myth in the industry is when I have seen, especially when automation things are happening, many people think that, oh my God, I'm doing one process here, or I'm responsible to do some, probably say like I'm responsible to do recruitment here. Once this AI or digital things comes, probably my entire job will go or get vanished because you're going to automate this. No, never happen. Especially in healthcare, it's not going to happen. I mean, just to tell you maybe a simple example, as you all know, you all know how to use the spectrophotometer, right? If you put a AI into that and you forgot to clean wipe your test that cuvette, what happens? You get a wrong result. But the AI will not find out, or AI will not have ability to ask you or send you a reminder that have you cleaned your cuvette or not. Isn't it as simple as that? So because our healthcare is a very sensitive, as you all know, and that kind of the things that we do, the research that we do is very sensitive, and it deals with the humans. So we cannot definitely take the risk of putting something completely on a head of or on the shoulders of machine and ask them to give you the result out. That may not happen and never going to happen for sure. But yes, this is going to help in terms of, as I said in the beginning, three things: cost, time, and effectiveness, or the quality. So when you bring forth some of the technologies, especially, I'll talk a little more about the clinical research itself, right? So we are in a process of inventing some applications wherein when patient goes for a clinical trial, we call them as the CRAs. I mean, the people from the companies who goes to the sites, they record the results. I mean, say the patient information. We are working towards an application which is IVRS based. The moment when patient says like my symptoms are like this, immediately it grasps the information on audio based, and then it will convert into text based, right? Somebody sitting anywhere in the world, after just completing that record, somebody sitting anywhere in this world have access to that data, and they'll complete the next steps. Earlier, CRA has to fill the form, he or she has to scan it, send it to some other place, and then they will review it. And again, there also, if there are any errors, again those queries will be raised back to the CRA, and CRA again have to check and complete it. So it's like back and forth. But whereas after bringing some of these technologies, is going to really help a lot in terms of reducing the time. As I said, healthcare industry, it's not like farmers are interested in making money. Don't get me wrong, it's not about that. If you really see the product that is going out after the any invention, the product end user, who is the end user? It's you and me, right? You and me are the end users of any product which is released by the pharma company or healthcare company, right? So people are in a need of drugs, people are in a need of treatments. So when they are like waiting for those medicines to come out, it becomes a responsibility of any industry to reduce the time, and increase your invention and bring the medicines faster into the market. It's more like a noble cause, or more like your responsibility to the society, right? So that's about the physical thing. And coming to whether we buy or we acquire, it's more like either you want to make it organic or you want to go for inorganic. I think I see a trend, especially some of the service-based organizations, even big pharma giants as well. They are trying to build their digital, wings or digital internal organization itself on their own, because of probably two things. One is that, as we all know, healthcare data is very sensitive and it is highly confidential. They cannot afford to put into somebody's hands. That's one. And second one is, when you have your in-house, you can invest more, and you can, in fact, instead of running one or two projects, you can run multiple projects. So I've seen a trend of companies building up their global capability centers in some of the low-cost countries, like in India and other countries. That's the trend now. And some of them, yes, they're ready to buy as well. There are products available in the market which you can buy to expedite or accelerate your innovation and your research and have your drugs outside in the market. That's on the other side. So, and what pandemic has brought forth for us, something in terms of, again, a physical thing is, I was looking at another article. Um, as you know, I think Rajashri sir already touched based on this point about the medical reps. As per one of the survey conducted in US due to this pandemic or whatever the reason it is, I think in US they did one survey for one of pharma product company. Earlier they used to go to the doctors. I mean, doctors also prefer to have MRs having a face to face or physical visit. That is 77% of the doctors used to prefer that. And during the pandemic or post pandemic, it has come down to 54%. So 77 to 54. I'm sure this will even go further down, because the pharma companies are also building up some capabilities on their digital marketing, or wherein they can have a video call with the doctor, explain everything back to the doctor, and have any clarifications they want to do, right? So it's not no more necessary that you have to go to your doctor and then take their appointment and explain the product. You can do it over a video call or any video call or a voice based call. Anything is possible now, right? So those are the things which are happening. And another thing I want to tell, especially in interest of the students, I just made a note of a couple of things. It's about the digital world, right? The companies, no doubt, companies are trying their best to have these things in place. But you as a student, it comes with some certain responsibilities for you. As Priyanka said, the flap side, in fact, it triggered me a point. When you have a lot of data, when you have access to so many things, one thing that you need to remember is distraction. You easily get distracted by many things happening. You were like, you are reading one interesting article, probably something on related to your education, and you suddenly see something, some message pops up from one of your friend on WhatsApp. Gone for toss. Whatever you read, you'll just keep that everything away, and you go to the next thing. So that we are seeing even with the millennials as well. The focus, the detail oriented approach is something is really missing. So I'm this is my humble request to all the students and millennials, because you have a great future. You're pretty much in a right, I would say, position, even in a country as well as in an industry. I think many might have seen our Sensex also has crossed 6,000 points, and we are pretty much close to I think 5 million economy or something like that. So we are in a very growth mode, and you are so blessed to have everything, as I said, very accessible to you. But yes, again, it comes with a certain sense of responsibility for you guys as well. You need to be really, really be careful. I mean, to say about the distractions, and be focused. That is more important. And we see many employees, like the off lately during the pandemic, we are seeing a lot of people having problems and having performance issues due to the lack of detail oriented thing, because they're just doing it for the sake of doing. Don't do it. And especially in healthcare industry, as I said, I mean, KIIT was just one small example to give, but our industry is very sensitive industry. Any error can lead to a life of a patient, isn't it? So we have to be really, really careful. Quality is very important. And then next one is, in during this digital world, one important thing is, earlier, if you are meeting any person in a face to face, you had an opportunity to see them and understand their body language, understand their expressions and things like that. But whereas now, nowhere possible, right? So when you have that as a challenge, one request to you all is, work on your articulation. how effectively you are communicating to the people. When I say communication, it's not about how great English or grammar or something. Making your point very clear so that the other person understand it very easily. Try to make it simple. Try to make it effective so that your communication is clear and the other person gets you immediately.
Great.
I think probably I would stop here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was like sharing a lot of things actually. I'm learning. I'm not trained as a manager or something, but we acquired the sense of being manager, running the labs and the schools and administration and all that stuff. However, thank you so much for sharing your views. It was really a learning curve for me personally. So thank you all. But our students, they're not stopping. They're asking bunch of questions. There is one student, I shared the question with you all in the WhatsApp group also. So one of the question he's asking is, he's a international student, Mulumba Pios, his name. Today, things are changing so fast, new tools being developed, tech products. What do our speakers think of the mindset of the learning things, unlearning what doesn't work or what has become outdated and relearning what works? And if they think, okay, how best can they advise us to achieving it? Huge long question. I think it's a 20 marks questions in our generation. So please share your thoughts. I think many of the students, they have the similar kind of questions. So please, I will start with Rajoshi, please.
Yeah. So if I've understood the intent of the question, it is about learning, unlearning, and relearning. I think this is something a new normal now. Let's put it that way. What I have learned or what I have done, which made any one of us successful even 6 months back, there is no guarantee that I continue to do the same thing again. So it's a pretty fast world. And while we all talk about learning, unlearning, relearning, but I think how you do it, I think that's the question is. Again, it's not something a straightforward answer. I think it has to come from the individual. I mean, I always say you can continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn, provided you demonstrate that hunger. And that hunger of creativity, innovation. Uh, it has to be always a sense of not satisfied with status quo. That only will make you to do things differently and keep challenging and raising the bar. I think the other trait that I see, those who do this very well, they have a very a good explorer mindset. When you are an explorer, you don't start your journey with necessarily an end in mind. So you have to keep your mind open. You have to keep your biases away. You have to keep your ego away. And that's the way you will continue to learn, absorb, put few things aside, acquire few things, again, drop it after some time. And that's the explorer mindset with which we have to, I think, move forward. And last is, I think I see where this kind of thing, and for those people I've seen who do this very well, they are always open to a contra view. Very often we don't listen. So unless you develop that listening skill and you are open to get challenged and you are open to seek a contra view, your mind will not be open for learning and relearning. I think these are some of the tips one has to practice in their respective fields. I think that's the journey. I don't think there is a choice anymore not to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think that's the new normal according to me.
Ishita, if you want to give your viewpoint on this particular issue, I know it's a very open one, very generalized question.
I mean, I can just give on a lighter note suggestion. The way when we are saying, learn, unlearn, relearn, it is not a disjoint process. Okay, so you stop learning one day and then you start unlearn and then start something new. The entire process is continuous process. The idea here is to be on a journey of continuous learning, upgrading your skills. And the other key thing is forecasting, like the future prediction has been spoken about. And what is the new need of the business which is getting emerged? Am I there? Have I learned it? Or what are the opportunities available for me to learn that? So once you're clear about the future, you're keeping yourself updated and current, it's a continuous journey. It's like a conveyor belt. You are getting ready every day, each day adding value to yourself to be relevant to the next hour, maybe now going forward, not really next month or next quarter. So that is how, if you keep yourself hungry and you continue your journey of learning each day, adding value to yourself, that's the only advice I can give to the students here. It cannot be a start-stop button. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, truly said. These are very, very important points, and I'm sure it is going to help our students to understand the kind of mindset of the industries at this moment during this particular pandemic. I have a question from my side.
If you allow me, I'll just want to add one note on that same topic. If you see the whole vaccine story in the last one, the whole world public is aware of it. It's a great case study of how do you unlearn and relearn and start doing things. A typical vaccine takes, I think, 6 to 7 years to develop. And here we had a case where most pharma companies, even a giant like Pfizer, developed it within few months, I mean less than a year. So that's the way every kind of different industry or different people will have to behave. I mean, in a traditional model, a 6 to 7 year journey was crashed into 6 to 7 months, and it has still worked very well so far. So that's a great example, and that is going to be there everywhere. That was the point I wanted to make. Thank you.
True. Very truly said. So I have this question in my mind. Okay, I know everyone wants to say a few lines, but I'm coming to you, Priyanka. So my question is, how older generation coping up with the new gen workforce in the current scenario, and are they able to come up to your expectation or the company's expectation, or they are little bit impatient, they want to move fast? What is the current mindset of the younger generation? I just want to know this. It's from my side. Thank you. This is for you, Priyanka.
All right, so that's a very exciting question, and I have a very different take on it, and that comes from my experience. I completely understand while we have a new generation to handle, we are also moving towards a new generation of work style. We're moving towards a new generation of HR, right? We are not practicing or trying to fit anyone in what was being done earlier, right? So yes, the new generation is fairly ambitious, fairly agile. They are open to a lot of discussions. Span of attention is less. But then how do we leverage it? I actually see it as a lot of opportunity for all of us, because I think earlier when we have to change a person, we really have to condition, okay, you are doing this and you have to. I think for HR profession, it's easier now. If I go to a person with an option, the yes comes much more easier from this generation rather than what would come from an earlier generation. If that is your question on how different it is, I have never found the difference if you're able to articulate it well. Where I see the difference is maybe the aspirations. The aspirations are a little different. Sometimes they are not that focused. And that is where I wanted to add my sense to the new generation. No matter what you want to do, how you want to do it, is very important that you are very self-aware. What you are learning, what you are doing, is that in line with what you are doing. So when your HR professional or your manager comes and tells you, this is what we have, this is how the industry is going, the preparedness actually has to marry each other. So if that makes any sense or is in line with the question that you asked me, Mr. Srinivas.
Thank you so much. This was really, it's a pinpointed answer for my question, but definitely I would like to listen from Dinesh also. What is your viewpoint, Dinesh? I think. Dinesh, am I audible? Can we have your reaction to this particular question, please? Ishita, can you chip in and give your viewpoint on this particular point?
Sorry, I just got a call in between. If you could just repeat the question, I will attempt.
The question was how older generations keeping up with the new generation workers, and are they coming up to the expectation of the company and the HR?
Okay. So yeah, I mean, the new generation, I think, is very different from our generation. I think there's a 2-decade gap between what they are and what we expect. And it's not that, everybody has, some scope of improvement, and some of them are really ready. But the real change actually is expected from people like us, who have to be, who also have to unlearn a lot of things to adjust to the new millennials who are coming into the business and the foray. So their style of working, and if we see the traditional style of working and we try to assess the gap, then there will be a big gap which will be very difficult to bridge. So it is, we have to come to a midpoint saying, what is the current quality of talent and their mindset, and what is their expectation from a job and an organization. Are we ready enough to take that kind of people into our system and help them flourish there? So there has to be some amount of agility in the organization also to become current and relevant to the new set of generation which is coming on board. We can't say that we still have the same traditional board meeting style of organization, watertight JDs, watertight, structures of reporting hierarchy. That may not suit this generation of work. And yes, we have to then adopt ourselves with more flexibility, more free flow environment to work from anywhere rather than only work from home, wherever you choose to work from. So these are the mid route which we will be adopting, and we'll be seeing organizations who are also traditional change in this way. So there's no necessary gap which cannot be bridged. The talent has to move in some direction, and the organization also has to move in some direction, and that's where we'll be able to come to a synergy and a more collaborative way of succeeding in the industry now. So that's my take from the business side. It's more from a business industry and the organization changing rather than talent changing. That's fair.
Thank you, Ishita. I think Dinesh, if you don't mind, can you give a quick reaction on the question which I asked about the new gen coping up with the expectation of the company and the HR parameters? Dinesh, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, never mind. So thank you so much. I think we came to the end of this panel discussion, and just to just read out what are the take-home messages that I have inculcated during this panel discussion. I think, Rajoshi, you have explained so nicely that the skill gap is going to be very high and very fast in coming days, and how we have to upgrade the skill sets and right skill set people, how we can acquire at the workspace. That is going to be the challenge in coming years. And Dinesh, you have very nicely explained the cost down and the high quality, how we can bring high quality manpower in a economic mode way, and who has the ability to take risk and flexible. And similar way, Ishita also has explained very nicely how the new generation are ready for taking the jobs. I was a little bit surprised on that one. I thought my students are not yet ready for jobs. However, you proved me wrong that this generation is quite ready to take up jobs, and they are risk takers and they're flexible. As Priyanka has said very nicely, upskilling and learning agility. I really appreciate that point, because if you do not have the agility, then it's very difficult for you to take up the job, and you cannot progress in your career in that way. So thank you so much for giving your viewpoints, and I request all of you to come on the offline mode sometime to KIIT University from, from a point of Dean's view. I think I invite all of you personally to come and visit School of Biotechnology, KIIT University, so that we can have better discussions and we can make better strategies, because we want to take, as Priyanka was saying, that it's not only the static kind of education that we have got will work out in this present condition. We have to have a dynamic kind of learning which tells about the agility, flexibility, and requirement of the industry. So I thank all of you, and I wish all of you to be here someday so that we can discuss about all these things in an offline mode. So thank you once again, all the panel members, Rajoshi, Priyanka, Dinesh, and Ishita. Thank you so much for being on this platform. I really appreciate your presence and time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Srinivas, for joining us. It was all our pleasure, and it's lovely to interact with younger generation, because we also start feeling younger then. And I'm definitely looking forward to meeting in person. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So I think
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. So now we'll move on to the next session after a short break of 5 minutes, and then we'll come back again. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I welcome all the speakers, my faculty colleagues, and students of School of Biotechnology and KIIT University. So welcome back to the session 4, I'd like to introduce my fellow moderator, Dr. Subrat Kumar from School of Biotechnology. He is an assistant professor in the Department of Biotechnology, KIIT University. He has completed his PhD from JIPMER, Chandigarh, and molecular virologist, and has worked as a postdoc fellow in high security animal disease laboratory BSL-4 in Bhopal and in University of Maryland, College Park, USA, in understanding the molecular mechanism of pathogenesis in avian influenza virus. His long-term research interest is to understand the pathogenesis mechanism, ARTIS, due to viral infections, especially HMPV, RSV, and HRV in humans and its associated immune reactions, as in the context of developing a live attenuated virus. I welcome you, sir, and I request you to moderate this session and introduce our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas. Thank you, Dr. Srinivas, sir, for those kind words. I would like to welcome you all for the day 2 session 2, which is very rightly named as Vaccine, a New Currency for Sustainable Growth in the Post-Pandemic World. So what we have learned or what we have seen in the current pandemic scenario is that due to intense engagement from the government as well as external forces and collaborators all coming together, we were able to get the vaccine for SARS-CoV-2 in less than a year, which is quite a remarkable thing that has happened during this pandemic year. This proves that with proper alliance and deputation, efficacious drug and vaccines can be made available within a very short period of time. Moreover, with everyone realizing the potential of cutting-edge technologies in healthcare, vaccines have now become the new currency that both researchers and investors are looking to harness with the power of science and innovation. So with this overview, I would like to welcome two speakers, esteemed panel members who are there, Dr. Bhavin Patel and Dr. Bhavaswata Naik. It's a pleasure for me to introduce both of you, starting with Dr. Bhavin Patel. Dr. Bhavin Patel, who is currently the CEO Ipsum Life Sciences and the co-founder of Ipsum Life Sciences, which is a technology-driven organization based in India, which started in 2018. He has done his PhD in biotechnology from ICT Mumbai, with special emphasis on the concept of commercialization and making a successful way from the lab to market for life sciences and chemical technology. He has vast experience in the field of innovative purification process development, and he has assisted different companies in India for the production of biochemical molecules, which include specialty chemicals, therapeutic proteins, peptides, and monoclonal antibodies. His company, Ipsum Life Sciences, is a team of more than 40 techno-commercial people with research and development capabilities. Ipsum Life Sciences is involved in development of innovative products and process for biochemical molecules and is having 2 factories, food factory, which produces natural vitamin E and phytosterols, and a pharma factory, which produces anti-malarial bulk drug named Artesunate. In addition to this, Ipsum is partner of Mitsubishi Chemical Corporation, Japan, for Indian business of purification of materials in India, which includes resin-based purification technology development, technology transfer, and scale-up. They have Ipsum has a satisfied customer in India of food sector, pharmaceutical, and nutraceuticals industries. With this word, I would like to invite Dr. Patel for his presentation here.
Thank you, Dr. Subrat, for this introduction, and thank you to University for inviting me for this session. I shall be sharing my views on vaccines, and I will also share my experience and what Ipsum does on vaccine front. Okay. So will you please allow me to share the screen?
Okay, sir. You have been allowed, sir. You can start.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Okay, just hold on. Okay, now you can get the screen, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, so basically, what the topic of discussion is vaccine, a new currency for sustainable growth. What I believe the audience over here are more on biotechnopreneurs. So what kind of things they can do and what is the possibilities for the biotechnopreneurs? I will be discussing on that part. Okay. So first, I will give you brief about Ipsum. So Ipsum is working on new process as well as new products. So basically, we are involved in process innovation as well as product engineering. So in process innovation, what we do, we generally develop a process which are cost effective. Process innovation is for manufacturing process of any biomolecule. Okay, so it should be cost effective. It can be environment friendly. It can do some value addition, or it can change the throughput of the production. Or by product engineering, what we mean is we can have some target specific molecules, we can have the enhanced stability of the product, or we can have multifunctional product. So this is the two domain into which Ipsum is continuously working. And whatever we are working, we are keeping a right kind of balance on investors' needs as well as customer satisfaction. So whatever the challenges are there, customers' demands are there, we try to address. But of course, we are into the business, so we have to generate that kind of margin so that we can also survive and we can have new investment possibilities for the new solutions to be faced. The technology and innovation criteria for Ipsum is the technology should be disruptive, it should bring some quantum change, or it should have some social impact. Like in quantum disruptive technology, initially X-ray was being used to detect the maternal health of the child. Then sonography was invented, and it has completely disrupted use of X-ray in this detection of the maternal health. Okay, like quantum change technology, like vaccine. When the pandemic is there, and someone has invented a new vaccine to fight against that kind of disease, so it will be universal acceptance and it will be a game changing. And some examples like which is having a social impact, like neem coated urea, okay, which eventually improve the quality of the life. It is having environmental, economic, and health impacts. Like we all know, urea is India is a net importer of urea, and when it goes into a chemical industry, the farmers which are actual end users cannot use it. So what we have started doing now, GNFC basically, they've started doing now, they have started coating this urea with the neem so that it cannot go into the chemical industry. It will go on into the agriculture purpose. So the current businesses of Ipsum are chromatography purification technical support, CRAMS activity, as well as innovative product manufacturing, which is our in-house products. So right now we have in technical support, we have assisted all major pharmaceutical companies in India for purification of the drug substance. It can be a biological, it can be a chemical molecule, like fermentation derived product, proteins, hormones. These all products we have assisted different companies how they can make it into highly purified form. And Mitsubishi, of course, is our partner in this business. Then CRAMS activity, we have developed certain methods for narcotic products. We have worked on waste management. We have worked on agriculture waste, which was a mango peel. So how we can extract a important raw material, which is a pectin, from that kind of mango peel. Then these are 5 different products of Ipsum. That is a water-soluble turmeric, natural vitamin E, antimalarial product, biotrap mask, and plant and animal vaccine development. So today we will be discussing on the 5th part, that is the plant and animal vaccine. So we are working on 2 domains. See, when we all look at the vaccine name, of course, vaccines for human to save human life is there. But apart from that, there are a lot of things onto which humans are dependent, like agriculture, plant, and food, like animal. So Ipsum is working on plant and agriculture vaccines. So animal vaccines. One case that we are working is vaccine for cotton plant. Okay, and where the vaccine candidate is a protein, And we another part that we are working on is a vaccine for shrimp, which is animal, and the vaccine candidate is a DNA, and which is working on antisense RNA technology. Okay, so yeah, this is my team. Apart from me, we have Dr. Sajdev, we have Dr. Sagar and Dr. Meghna, who are the principal people involved in Ipsum, and we have total 12 sales offices across the country, 2 manufacturing locations, one in Mumbai, second is in Vapi. So this is our R&D center and processing center. So yeah, we'll start with the infectious disease, right? Infectious disease is what generally? It is a this is a disease which is caused by microbial pathogens, virus, bacteria, fungus, or parasites. Okay, which can be transmittable or non-communicable, or they may be spread by plant, human, insects. The agents who spread the pathogens are called as a vectors. Okay, so vaccine. Now, what is the vaccine? Vaccine is a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular infectious disease. So vaccine means what? The candidate who is taking a vaccine, okay, should acquire the immunity to fight against that pathogen and the consequences which are arise due to that pathogen, like a disease, right? If our drug or our the person, or what we can say, plant or animal who are being vaccinated, they should acquire the immunity to fight against that particular infectious disease. So vaccine typically contains the agent which is an infectious agent, right? Which is a disease-causing microbes which are in a weakened or killed form, which can be a toxin or its surface protein. Now, the novel vaccine, which includes a product based on genetic material, DNA or RNA, which eventually induces the acquisition of the immunity to a particular infectious disease. So, what I would like to say, when we look ourselves, we can see a lot of diseases which are there, mainly infectious diseases. There are some treatment available for those kind of diseases, but rather than treatment, if the organism or if the plant or animal or human can acquire a resistance against those kind of infectious diseases, then it will be having a more impact rather than treating those infectious diseases. So it can be more, what we can say, a preventive maintenance kind of activity rather than we take the measures after the breakdown. Okay. So if we look at the scenario of agriculture and fisheries in 2016, agriculture and allied sectors like animal husbandry, forestry, and fisheries were contributing almost 15.4% of the GDP, and 41% of our workforce was working in this field. And India ranks first in the world with highest net crop area, followed by US and China. So based on this fact, okay, I am also a farmer, okay, and in my farm there was a issue of fungus infection. So basically we were cultivating cotton plant, and against this for this cotton plant there was a infectious organism named as a fusarium oxysporum, which is a fungus which do not allow water to move upward direction. Basically it blocks the xylem. So this is the xylem, which is a water conducting tissue, and the organism, which is a fungus, okay, it blocks the pores of this xylem and do not allow the water to transfer. So what we see basically, the lower part is completely wet where the water is there, and the upper part of the plant is completely dry and it is no more basically. So to against this, we have worked on development of a vaccine so that cotton plant can be immune to this kind of vaccines and we can have more production. So what is the possible solutions and gap? Okay, basically it is a fungus. We ultimately come to know about what is the organism, what is its characteristic, how it infects. Basically it is a very initial phase of studies which need to be done when new disease is popping up. So fortunately in this case we were aware of the name of the organism and what kind of infection pattern it follows. So it is a fungus pathogen. So what you can use, You can use fungicides to kill the pathogen. Fungicides, there are two kinds of fungicides are available, which is chemical and biological fungicides. There are certain disadvantages and there are certain advantages of these fungicides. So chemical fungicides can increase the toxicity to the farmer. They are of high cost. They have environmental concerns, and of course, India is dependent on the chemical imports, especially for the fungicides. Okay. In case of biological fungicides, basically we can use antifungal enzymes, right? But these enzymes having a low turnover number, and apart from this, they cannot stop the rapidly growing disease. So these are the disadvantages of the biological fungicides. So what can be a better gap filling in this case? Basically, plant have a natural defense system like what we have in human, like what we have in animal, which is less explored. So we need to understand what are the components of its innate immune system, what are the signaling molecules. Like in human, we have antibodies, B cell, T cell. We understand completely the human immunology. So similarly, there is a plant immunology which need to understand, right? What are the defense proteins? What are the redox reactions which are taking place? Okay, and if we can activate this kind of defense proteins in high turnover numbers, right? So we can have a development of innate immunity into the plant. So the novel solution that we could find is the new enzymes were identified into the plant immune system. That is the beta glucanase, chitinase, polyphenol oxidase, right? Phenylammonium lyase and peroxidase. These are the enzymes which are a part of the plant immune system. So idea was to induce the transcription and translation of this enzyme much before the attack of the pathogen. Like as I mentioned, vaccine is a preventive maintenance kind of activity. So we have to do whatever we want to do before the attack of the pathogen. So we develop a novel formulation, which is natural, cost-effective, non-toxic to farmers, biodegradable. And we gave a name to this formulation as a COTVAC, that is cotton vaccine. So how this COTVAC works? So COTVAC basically is a protein complementary to the transmembrane receptor on a cell wall. Okay. This protein binds and activates intracellular events of induction of broad spectrum defense system. While this broad spectrum defense system activates, synthesis of salicylic acid occurs into the plant leaves. Now, see, this will be a localized solution, but this salicylic acid can be converted into methyl salicylate by the plant itself, and this methyl salicylate can transfer from one plant leaf to another plant. Basically, into a whole plant, the signaling molecule is a salicylic and methyl salicylate. Okay. Now, this salicylic acid, what this salicylic acid does, it basically creates a reduced environment into the plant cells, and they do accumulation of hydrogen peroxide. Now, with accumulation of hydrogen peroxide, what happens with this reduced environment? One protein is there, that is NPR1, which is into a multimeric form. Now, with the reduced environment, it converts into the monomeric form, and it will only able to enter into the nucleus. So when it is into multimeric form, it is not able to enter into the nucleus. But when it is into a monomeric form, then only it will able to enter into the nucleus. Then when this monomeric form enters into the nucleus, it interacts with the transcription factors and induce the translation and accumulation of beta-1,3 glucanase and chitinase. We all know fungal cell wall is made of chitin. So when the chitinase enzyme is present, of course, degradation of the fungal cell wall will happen. So these are the defense component, and this is the root of how actually the plant defense mechanism is activated, and the defense related proteins, pathogenesis related proteins, are getting activated and accumulated into the plant before the actual infection happens. So as I was mentioning, salicylic acid converted into methyl salicylate, and then it transferred to one plant to one leaf to another leaf, or it basically transfer systematically in whole plant. So we started doing an in vivo assessment of the COTVAC. We developed a hypothesis. Okay, this is the plant protein that we need to target, or plant cell membrane proteins that we are targeting into a formulation of COTVAC. And now let's evaluate it for in vivo studies. So we took Quatvax in one section. Then we took Quatvax plus a chemical fungicide. Okay. Then we took alone chemical fungicide, and then a control was there. So we know is infection cycle is 45 days after the plantation of the seedlings. Okay, and we decided giving a treatment on 21st day of the sowing the seeds. So after treatment, samples were collected, and what we assessed the activity of this defense-related proteins, beta 1,3 glucanase, chitinase, polyphenol oxidase, peroxidase. Okay. Then also we check the what is the impact on plant growth in terms of plant height, number of flowers, what is the final product that we are getting, average cotton ball weight, final cotton weight, number of seeds which are there into a uh, uh, cotton ball. So we develop a proof of concept. So what we found, let me take a pen. What we found in control, we found there is an infection which is there into that soil. Okay. So almost 70% of the plant which were there into a control section got infected. So we took those samples and we did the microscopy, and we found that okay, this is the fungus which is a Fusarium oxysporum only, and it was there into a xylem. So with the positive strain method, we could find okay, there is an infection because of this fungus only. Okay, then yeah, we checked effect on growth after 60 days of induction. So what we found after 60 days, Quatvax treatment, we were having a height of 2.5 feet. With Quatvax as well as chemical fungicide, the height was around 2.2 feet. In control, which were the plant which could survive the infection, the height was almost 1.5 feet. After 90 days, we checked that the height is almost 5 feet. For the segment where we have given the Quatvax treatment. With Quatvax treatment as well as chemical fungicide, the result was nearly similar. In control, it could not grow beyond that limits. We also checked what is the effect on cotton ball weight and size. So we found that okay, while giving a Quatvax treatment, we are getting a more diameter of the cotton ball, and when we estimated the weight of the cotton, it is almost more. So it is almost 4.5 gram cotton which is there into that cotton ball, which is in control it was hardly 2 gram. Okay. So we could find that okay, with this kind of in vivo treatment, we are having the better results. We also estimated different enzymes which we are claiming that okay, these are the pathogenesis related enzymes. So what we could find that after giving this Quatvax treatment, after 6 to 8 days, there is a high quantity of this chitinase enzyme which is getting accumulated into the plant leaf. Okay, so when the infection cycle is 45 days, if we give the treatment on 21st day, after the 10 days, our system, the plant system is ready to take up the challenge. Even if the infection is there, it will able to cope it. So the commercialization aspect, the Quatvax treatment not just keep plant disease free, but also result in increased height and productivity in field trials. Quatvax standalone gives better result than commercial chemical fungicides. It is giving reproducible results with increase in demand due to a cheaper rate of product with good return. So this product is already commercialized. It is in market. Okay. So this is the what the product leaflet look like, which is a biotechnological solution to cotton wilt. Okay, and it is a systemic vaccine for cotton crop, prevents and controls the soil-borne disease. So the impact is this solution can help to increase the annual production of cotton, not only by saving the crop, but by increasing the yield, and can contribute significantly to the generation of the foreign revenue by export. We all know majority of the cotton which is produced in India are being exported, right? So it will have those kind of impact. And so he's my grandfather. basically who showed me this is more challenging in his field. So as a technopreneur, we could find okay, let's start working on this problem, and then ultimately I'm happy that we could satisfy his requirements. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel, for a very interesting talk. And yes, you have rightly done a work to save livestock and agricultural product. In current scenario, when everybody is focused on developing vaccines for COVID-19, but you have done a remarkable work, because yes, protecting our livestock and agricultural stock is also important for us. Do join us for the panel discussion, because I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure our students will be also be asking a lot of questions from
Sure. And apart from that, we as I mentioned, we are working on that animal vaccine, which is a novel technology of basically DNA-based vaccine. I have not covered it in this presentation because it will take more time on discussing on both the aspects. But of course, any questions are there, it is welcome.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Now I would like to welcome Dr. Nayak, Dr. Bhavaswata Nayak, who is currently working as an additional professor in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Welcome, sir, for the as a esteemed panelist for this session. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Nayak. Dr. Nayak has done his PhD from AIIMS, New Delhi, and then from Department of Pathology in 2004. Then he moved to carry out his postdoc in Northwestern University, Chicago. For 4 years, he worked there on metabolic disorders. Later, he moved on to Department of Veterinary Medicine, University of Maryland, US, where he has involved in molecular characterization of avian paramyxoviruses, avian influenza, and Newcastle disease virus. He has vast experience in the field of reverse genetic platform for RNA viruses, viral immunology, and did outstanding work on elucidating the highly neurovirulent Newcastle disease virus strain. His work highlights the molecular determinants of pathogenesis in avian paramyxoviruses and avian influenza viruses. So far, he has published more than 70 publications in highly reputed journals, international and national. He is a member of many professional bodies, and his lab is well funded with both intramural and extramural funding. His current research interest includes molecular gastroenterology, hepatology, viral hepatitis, and viral vector vaccines. So I welcome you, sir, for your presentation. Please, sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Subrat, for giving opportunity here for Biotech Industry Conclave. So I want to share my screen. So, but right now I am not allowed to show you.
Sir, you have been made a co-host. You can start sharing your screen, sir.
No, still it is not showing all participants. Okay.
Sir, at the bottom, you will have a share screen option. So you can use that one, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Done. We can see it.
You can see, no?
Yes, sir.
So good afternoon, all. So as you had know that the topic of my talk is vaccines, a new currency for sustainable growth in the post-pandemic world. So I'll talk about how vaccine can be used as a currency for sustainable growth. I am not an economist nor in the industry, so I am from the basic academic background. So currently my research focus is on mostly hepatitis viruses, and I got also 2 grants on COVID-19, one intramural and one extramural from ICMR. On the like spike protein variations and emerging variant on the basis of that. So we also got one grant on HEV, hepatitis E virus vaccine development through academia and industry partnerships. So it's 8 crore grant, which include collaboration from industry, which for our case it is Vaxpram, and then THSTI, and then AIMS and PGI Chandigarh. So keeping on that, so I'll give a brief overview of my talk. So because it's a vaccine and it is post-pandemic period is concerned, so I'll talk about a little bit about the impact of COVID-19. So what is sustainable growth? So how to achieve sustainable growth? So there are like different goals, sustainable development goals set by United Nations. So through vaccines, so vaccine and immunization, you can achieve this goal. So that I will also describe, and I will talk about a little bit COVID-19 vaccines and different vaccine platform. And disease X, that means which is the next disease for next pandemic. So that further we can plan for any future vaccines. So hope this will justify the title of the talk. So on the basis of that, I had given this brief overview. So coming to the impact of COVID-19, so we had mentioned that post-pandemic period. So till now, the pandemic is ongoing. It is not complete yet. As of today, this month, so you can find there are already 229 million confirmed cases globally and 4.7 million deaths already happened. So good news is that we have almost like 587 million doses are already administered, vaccine doses are already administered globally. And India is also like top third country now still epidemic is ongoing. So we have also seen around 33 million confirmed case and 4 lakhs death as of today, as of 20th September. So what data I had taken out. So coming to the impact is really very bad of like COVID-19. So there are a lot of human suffering, destabilizing global economy, and which affects a lot of lives of billion people around the globe. So as you know, there are so many deaths already happened globally, and the governments from different countries are trying to spend a lot of money so that they can protect their incomes. And also there is acute need of urgent medical care to their citizens. So they are working hard. So that is also giving a like scrambling effect on their economy. So as you know, there are a lot of job loss happened around the globe, which is like ILO had reported around 305 million job loss. And besides that, so it had really affected to the poor people. So there are a lot of unmet needs, because you guys had also must have experienced during lockdown what happened. Those are the poor people who is not having money, so daily wages and all. So they are not getting access to healthcare, sanitation, water supply, transport, housing, and even food. So this is really bad happened. And you can see this is one example, the lower one I had given how the GDP scrambled during the initial part of lockdown. This is the USA. So you can see that there's really very bad happened as country's economy is concerned. So many people are also telling this or linking this with like climate change, because most of these viruses were in animal or in forest, like or genetic disease, they are coming to the people and affecting and causing pandemics. So this could be attributed to the climate change or biodiversity loss. So coming to the sustainable growth, I had taken a little bit economics things here just to explain. So what is growth, sustainable growth? That this is a growth which can be maintained without creating further problems. You can take the economy or other aspects, so that we can save our future generations. So and you can measure like there are two ways the growth. Growth can be excessive growth or it can be the low growth. So that is also not good for things. So we need a sustainable growth for anybody's progress or country's and progress. So excessive growth can lead to the inflation of the goods, house price, and labor shortage and excessive credit, whereas the low growth can affect like causing deflations and labor surplus and debt burden. So that means there should be a, so you can see the lower picture, which are like plotted against consumer goods and capital goods. That means the consumer goods are mostly the things which are like food item or what we consume. So there is not having future significance, and simultaneously the capital goods are the assets. So that so it should have a like holistic growth. So that could be known as sustainable growth. And you can see this is a multiplier curve, which show that you can think it is like money brings money. That means if your money, if you invest, then gradually your money comes and subsequently you invest. So then growth will happen. So this is the logo for sustainable growth, which is gives like you should have a progressive mode of growth, so that it will not affect and everything will be stable. So how to achieve sustainable growth as medical science or is concerned? So UNA and WHO, they had created a sustainable goal. So if you can achieve this goal holistically, we can cover, we can give a sustainable growth. So there are 17 goals to be achieved to for this sustainable growth of any country's progress, which include no poverty, zero hunger, good health. Our health is coming under like SDG goal number 3. So these are the basically all 17 points which is required. And whole UN is also assessing different parameters. And if you look our India's progress in different aspects, we are really, there are a significant challenge in achieving this. So this is, I think, pre-pandemic period photo. It is in 2020. But after pandemic, you can think like whole country, everything comes to a halt. So again, we should have a beginning. So still we have to work all in these 17 areas to achieve the sustainable growth during the post-pandemic period. So coming how the vaccine can help achieving these all things. So we had gone through the literature, globalization and health. So where it published like how vaccine or immunization can affect or help in achieving these sustainable goals. So directly your vaccine or immunization can achieve can contribute to 14 out of 17 goals, such as ending poverty, reducing hunger, and reducing inequalities. So if you have vaccine, it can directly reduce your infectious disease burden. So when you have, so these green colors are like, it's a direct effect, where these blue are like indirect effect. So if you are protecting people and community against infectious disease, so that we can empower all the like major goal like health, like SDG goal number 3, and subsequently it can help in other, if you are providing access immunization to all your entire population, irrespective of gender and rich or poor. So that gives your equalities. And similarly, when we are developing vaccines, so different platforms we can achieve, we can create industry, so that there your infrastructure or capital investment or capital things will increase. So in that way, vaccine can affect or it can help in achieving different sustainable goals. So also it can help in maintaining sustainable growth. So it doesn't happen by one person or just developing a vaccine. It needs so many people collaborations. So this is the WHO building block, which is the major 7 blocks. So main is like people. So if you have vaccines, but your vaccine should be widely accepted by the people. And sometimes you need community engagement to achieve herd immunity. So as you know, vaccine acceptance, so there are a lot of cultural practice, like for like suppose the papilloma vaccines. So now many culture, they don't allow to give this vaccine to the girls and all. Similarly for polio, so you need community engagement or many people, so that your vaccine can go to people. And even in case of the SARS, even during your COVID period, so there is a lot of hesitancy to accept the vaccines. So even the vaccine hesitance rate increased up to like 30 to 40%, and still now also many people are not willing to take vaccines, citing different things like safety or that. So it needs like education. So information, health information. So you have to collect all the data and give. Public should aware that there is no health concern, and so many like it had gone like thorough clinical challenge, because these COVID vaccines now, which one is introduced, so it was like emergency use authorization, it got like fast track emergency. So people think it had not gone through the entire period of the clinical trial or reports. So but now people are accepting it. Similarly, the medicine and technology, so it needs like new vaccine development. It was a very good. So new technology has been introduced like mRNA vaccine this time for COVID. So there are different platforms are coming up. So all you need, and simultaneously the governance. So government should come with government, not only government, your main the vaccine clearing authority, like so many people, it needs the involvement. So during COVID time, all people come together, all regulatory authority, and they also even worked day and night so that we can fight with COVID. And now the good result is we are really achieving good amount of getting vaccines, and people are taking vaccines. So financing and all other resources, these all building blocks are really essential for sustainable growth and achieving goals with the help of the vaccines. So coming to the real COVID-19 vaccines, you see there is real innovations happen. So usually vaccine takes a year to like come to the people. So as you see that there are several vaccines which take so many years, like typhoid vaccine, meningitis, whooping cough, polio, measles, even hepatitis B. But when you look at SARS-CoV vaccines, it is within a year. So within a year, it is done. Even you can see the vaccine is made in a month, basically. This vaccine is made within a month, and we got the clearance simultaneously, preclinical studies and phase 2, phase 1 and phase 2. So here you see phase 2 and phase 3, the combinations. So the clinic phase, because ideally it should go phase 1, then phase 2, phase 3, then phase 4, then it comes to market. It takes a year. So even after to get a regulatory approval. So this time all innovation things happen. Your innovation at vaccine level, innovation at the regulatory level. So that's why you got a vaccine within a year. So this is a very good and innovative ways of developing vaccines. So there are several vaccine platform earlier, like it was there live attenuated vaccines or inactivated vaccines. So then you have like VLP-like vaccines, you have recombinant DNA, recombinant protein vaccines, you have viral vector vaccines, DNA vaccine, and RNA vaccines. So there are different platforms can be used. So this is for student. I just want to little bit highlight on that. And now, if you look at the vaccines we are in use currently globally, so these are mostly mRNA vaccines which express the full-length spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. So this include Pfizer vaccine and Moderna vaccines. And similarly, we have adenoviral vector vaccines which are in use, like AstraZeneca and Covishield. You have Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you have Sputnik vaccines. So these are already in use. Some are under still clinical trial, but still we got emergency authorization use. So, and whole inactivated variant vaccines such as vaccine by Bharat Biotech, and you have coronavirus, BBIVBP, Sinopharm is China vaccines like CoronaVac. So these are whole inactivated vaccine mostly used in India and China. So the vaccine safety and efficacy data till what it suggests there is complete safety, but efficacy may vary somewhere starting from 70 to up to 90% also people have seen. And so now the different study had shown that if you give additional booster dose or combination of the different vaccines can help in achieving better vaccine efficacy. So now you have multiple combinations, so multiple vaccines available, so that is good. We can match so that we can achieve better vaccine efficacy. And as in India is concerned, we have like got permission for use of like Covishield, Covaxin, and Sputnik. So Covishield, so that is around 80%, and Covaxin interim efficacy was around 70%. Sputnik was around 90%. So there is not major safety concern so far, where Covishield little bit concern was there, thrombosis or thrombocytopenia. But in India, there is not much adverse effect reporting so far. And if you look as of this month, so there are a lot of vaccine under pipeline. So if you look, there are a lot of vaccine in preclinical development stage, around 194 vaccines, and clinical development stage around 121 vaccines. That means so many people are under risk. So it is very good sign. And really the pandemic period, you need the vaccine requirement is more. There are people around the world, so you need a vaccine for everybody. So it's a good sign. We are progressing in the right direction. If you look the platform of vaccine platform, so how many different type of vaccine platforms are used for clinical development? So you have like protein subunit vaccines, which is mostly like spike protein. You have viral vector vaccines, which are non-replicating. You have viral vector, which are also replicating. You have DNA vaccines. You have inactivated virus vaccines. So you have also different combination with antigen presenting cells. You have live attenuated vaccines. So these are the different vaccine platforms. So many good platforms are now available. So this is showing that good sign. We are really going in the right direction for COVID prevention. So this is the like the hint for other diseases, which is WHO is prioritizing for threat as a pandemic potential. So these are already mentioned, I think in around 2020, before I think 2018. So where disease X was number 10, and this COVID-19 come here as a future, which COVID-19 came as a disease X, and now it is priority number 1 of WHO. So there are other diseases like Crimean Congo, hemorrhagic fever, Ebola virus disease, Marburg, Lassa, and even MERS and SARS are still there. So this is SARS-2. So the original SARS, they also can cause a epidemic or pandemic. Nipah, Nipah, Rift Valley fever, and Zika. So lot of pharma industry, they are also now preparing the vaccine for these, so that if in case you have pandemic, so they are ready to fight for that. So this is some example I am showing, because recently we got for HEV vaccine grant by REC, so that this is a platform which where we want to develop a VLP vaccines. We have candidate ready, which is already passed through preclinical like mouse. We had seen the immune response. Now we want to take it to the primate for preclinical challenge, and then subsequent we want to produce the large scale through the company. And at the same time, we want to establish the target cohort, both in chronic liver disease patient and in the community setting, so that we can take this vaccine to the next level. So we have just got funding, and the project just started this month. So just to give a hint like how industry developed, this could be like a subunit type of vaccines, VLP vaccine. So we have a clone which is a E. coli system, so we can get the soluble HEV ORF2, which can be used as a vaccine. So these are the different process. That's why the cost part of the vaccines comes. But however, we got the help from the government of India. But so there are several processes which helps in building. Before before going to the clinical trial, even for production of the vaccines also built. So there are upstream development process, downstream development process. So so this is mostly through the industry will do. They have like different incubator, fermenters. So for the large scale production. So so basically the cost and the vaccine preparation mostly lies here. So if you are spending like your lot of money on this fermenter and finally your vaccine concentration is low, so then cost will increase. So you have to have a good technology so that your production should be the robust, because India first for this COVID took inactivated vaccines because they found this virus can easily grow in viral cells, and so that they can produce a large amount of the virus, then subsequently inactivate, and it can take the people, because as you know we have a lot of people our country, so we need more vaccine. So the production should be the robust and it should be good quality. So these are the different formulation. Before that, it is just to give an idea to the students so how the vaccine process, and even we'll go through this process if we can take this vaccine to the public, because currently there is no vaccine for hepatitis E licensed in the country. So one vaccine is only licensed in China, which is a very small VLP. We have taken an entire ORF2 region for this vaccine. So I would like to thank all of you kind listening. So we have students which are working, we have postdoctoral fellow and PhD student and senior research fellow. So we had received 2 COVID grants, and we are working also a lot of cancer and liver cancer, all hepatology related work. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Knight, for such an informative presentation. Yes, you have very nicely highlighted that it is not the effort of only the researcher who is important here, and both researcher and innovators and industry persons has to collaborate together to bring any vaccine to the market as quickly as possible. So I would now request Dr. Patel and Dr. Knight to join for a panel discussion. I have few questions, sir, that I would like to discuss. My first question would be to Dr. Patel. Sir, how difficult is it for a startup pharmaceutical company to get funding for their research and development work, mainly in the area of vaccine development, sir?
Thank you for this question. For funding, I would like to say now things are really improved since past 5 years. Especially in biotechnology, we have biotech ignition grant for early age startup. Then when for the second phase, when the product is ready and we need to do the scale up, then another phase of BIRAC grants are there. When someone is starting from the scratch, and of course when the project specific things are there, so DBT and DST is also helping in terms of doing when you have some proof of concept. So very important thing is first you have to demonstrate that okay, you have the capability in terms of designing the hypothesis, and your thing is working on what we can say little bit working, but for more activity you need support. So I don't think anyone will be resist. And of course rather than government funding, you can also check for the private funding. So little bit work you have to do by yourself. So BIG will be a better scope, and in lot of incubation centers are there where you do not need to invest on infrastructure part. Okay, you just need to work on your idea, so things can be taken to the next level.
Thank you,
चीज है कि we all understand वैक्सीन बनाने के लिए बहुत पैसा लगता है, but पैसा जो भी लग रहा है that is all for infrastructure, not for idea. Okay, आप idea आपके पास है, infrastructure बहुत सारे लोगों के पास है. There are shared facilities in India. बहुत सारे जैसे नायक सर का लेबोरेटरी है, जैसे भोपाल में लेबोरेटरी है, वहां पर आप जाके आपका आइडिया को थोड़ा आप डिस्क्लोज करके, of course there are ways to do the collaboration, and with that you can take it to the next level, but of course you can get the success.
Yes, sir, I very rightly said that yes, of course collaboration is required. Dr. Naik, what's your take on this?
So may I want to add something to this? First, you have to classify your idea. So there are two ways. First, whether you are doing on basic research or product development. So for basic research, so you have to have like you can get fundings from different government agencies like DST, DBT, or CSIR and all. So when you are coming the product development, so there are different government plans. So basically there are two government initiative. One is like Make in India initiative, and another is startup initiative. So in Make in India initiative, like different, if your product is from the India and all, so that BIRAC, DBT BIRAC is helping it out. So you will get different grant in aid. So the way we got, because we want to develop a Indian vaccines, so we got the grant in aid support from BIRAC. And then coming to the Startup India, Startup India is having like 2-3 different ways it works. So it works, government had set of like different incubators and research farm, and even at KIIT's, what I know, one incubator is there, so you can explore your things and all. So, and for funding, so there are like different things are coming, like there are AM, set up and set two programs. You can look at that. So there you can get. And other area like government is also giving like a loan system is also there. If you are doing that is known as a soft loan system. So you can get loan from the government or any bank if in this aspect very low margin around 2 to 3% interest. With that also you can get loan, soft loan system. And then is like industry, I think different grant in aid. So in that way you can I think survive. So what Dr. Bhavin also told, that last 5 year things are relatively easy. So I'll think that relatively easy, but your product should be good. You should go. So that you have to see the outreach and importance and its timing also. There are a lot of things matter to get funding.
Yeah, just to add over here, one thing. Frankly, मैंने जब कंपनी चालू किया 2018 में, ओके, मैंने भी बहुत कोशिश की 2017 में मुझे ये BIRS. See, whatever I am right now saying is my personal opinion, okay, and my little bit experience that I am sharing. It is nothing to criticize anyone, right? So I will just share my experience. मैंने बहुत सारी जगह पर अप्लाई किया, लेकिन मुझे किसी ने नहीं दिया, frankly. Okay. ये जो भी गवर्नमेंट का, मैं खुद बायोटेक्नोलॉजी स्टूडेंट था, मेरे पास आइडिया था जो रिलेटेड टू बायोटेक था, बट काइंड ऑफ वहां पर जब व्हाट वी कैन से, जो जब इनवाइट करते हैं प्रपोजल्स, तब एक कंपटीशन जैसा हो जाता है. सी, जिसका प्रपोजल अच्छा उसको मिल गया, बट जो थर्ड और फोर्थ है उसको नहीं मिला. ओके, तो शायद उसमें आप रह गए, और जब नेक्स्ट कॉल आता है तब तक आपको वेट करना पड़ता है. So these are the experiences are there. Initial जो भी फर्स्ट सेकंड या जो 10 प्रपोजल देना है, मान लीजिए कि इन दिस कॉल दे हैव डिसाइडेड कि 10 लोगों को अपने को ग्रांट देना है, तो जो 11th 12th आया वो सोचेगा कि यार मेरा आइडिया खराब है. ऐसा नहीं करना है. अगर आपके पास आइडिया है, वैलिड है, तो बहुत सारे प्राइवेट लोग भी है जो अभी इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए रेडी है. लोगों की इनकम जो है वो काफी बढ़ गई है. बैंक में रख के जो 6% FD में इंटरेस्ट रेट ले, उससे अच्छा है कि स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट करें, भले ही कम परसेंटेज में. इट इज यू शुड हैव सम विजन. यार बैंक में आप 6% इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो ना, ठीक है, मेरी कंपनी में आप इन्वेस्ट करो, मैं आपको 6% पैसा दूंगा. आपके आइडिया को कभी मरने मत दो, लेकिन करते रहो. पहले छोटा सा एक बेसिक लेवल आपको चाहिए, क्योंकि आपको कुछ काम करने के लिए जगह तो लगेगा, तो वो पहले उतना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर लो, and then immediately start collaborating with different people. Don't put much on the infrastructure side on initial days. Later on, when you have a revenue cycle, you can add on, and like what we have done in last 3 years. Okay, we collaborated with Mitsubishi, started getting the revenue, and then continued working on the vaccine front. Of course, we could not do on human vaccine side because a lot of complexity is there. Okay, but of course, we have some idea. We know, understand this DNA antisense RNA technology. We understand this subunit protein vaccine. So why cannot we explore it for the other part? So with that also we could get the revenue. See, आज वैक्सीन का कीमत 800 रुपया है, मेरा क्वार्टवैक का कीमत भी 800 रुपया है. ओके, मुझे भी पैसा तो मिल ही रहा है उससे. So it is in that way कि ह्यूमन के पीछे भागो, ऐसा नहीं. रेवेन्यू ले लो एंड देन यू विल स्टार्ट इवेंचुअली मैच्योरिंग ऑन दोस फ्रंट एंड अब भी बाद में ह्यूमन वैक्सीन पर आ सकते हो. तो जो सब लोग कर रहे हैं वो करने का कोई मतलब नहीं है. सबसे कुछ हटके करो, जो लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं वो चीज में करो, ताकि आपकी आइडेंटिटी भी वहां फील्ड में बने और आप अपना एक कुछ इनपुट दे सको कम्युनिटी के लिए. क्योंकि इंसानों को बचाओगे, बट इंसान बच गया उसके बाद खाएगा क्या, तो वो चीज भी है.
I will add one point, like I will request you have to stay in the field. So even if you don't get a grant, don't leave it. So
Right.
for me, even if for this COVID, I had written 12 grant. So 11 grant got rejected. One I got in intramural. So I stay in the field and showing that I am still working. So again, I got my last grant what I submitted. So it means you have to be in the field so that you are there, and during this period of time, the grant which or your concept, which is very basic. Initially, you think it is heavy, but gradually you go on adding, and it really you got a shape of this grant or your idea. So because sometimes when you initially start, your idea is very new and very premature. So with time, with discussion and all, so it get matured. So it is not like that you submit a grant, you get it. It's not like that, because the funding agency or they also see so how strong you are. So you have to be like what Dr. Bhavin told, you have to like different. So it doesn't happen in a day. You can't be different from others. You are in the mass or more. So to find you are different, it takes time. So my suggestion or request or advice will be there. Even if you did not get funding, you don't think I am a fool, I am useless, it is not working. So try to be in the field. So you will get. So this happens.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Patel. Yes, well said. That means if you are only focused on saving human life, then even if you are able to save human life, what he is going to eat after that? Well said. But the take-home message from this question is probably that idea should be good. We have to focus on our idea. We have to keep on refining the idea, and we must have a very strong willpower to continue with that idea. I think that's the take-home message. Sir, Dr. Naik, I have a question for you. Sir, as we have seen in this COVID-19 pandemic period, that biopharma industry has rolled out vaccine in less than a year. What do you think, sir? Will this new found expectation that the industry is facing, allowing it to return to allow it to return to 8 to 9 year time frame that we used to take for drug vaccine development? And how will this affect the workforce if we are now we are more focused in developing vaccines quicker in less than a year time gap? So what do you say on this, sir?
So most probably you are asking like how to take this drug development or vaccine to the future. Yes, so whether it will affect our workforce. So really, first it is the vaccine innovations which bring us to do this vaccine within very short time. So people had really start early. So different technology was already established. So that's why we became so fast. And similarly, so that's why I had given one slide, what future is coming, future diseases are coming. So we have to get ready. So at the time of real need, we can come up with this. And now for COVID pandemic, because it's pandemic, it's happening globally. So there is a requirement of really more vaccines. So the load is more. So if our concern is really, can we produce more vaccine to give sufficient number to our people and all. So it needs a lot of collaboration. Not only collaboration, it also needs collaboration with government, collaboration with regulatory approval. So it needs discussions. So what is our need? How much we need? And so you can take help of the government, so that infrastructure, if you have an infrastructure, suppose for this many people you need a lot of like fermenters, or you have to grow a lot of like vaccine. Even if suppose COVID, covaxin, you have to grow this much of virus, you need a place. So infrastructure with proper regulatory approval, with biosafety facility, it should be established through government. So government and the pharma, so there is a direct talk. So if you see the suppose money, for Covaxin, you see for India use it was 10%, it was like for Brazil and somewhere. So that means, because sometimes the government don't want to invest on EU, so you have to see so other partners, so they can invest with things. So, but you have to build confidence on them with the technology and the production capability and all, so that we can really meet the need of the country or global. And really the workforce, you need manpower, you need infrastructure. So that is a joint collaboration with the government, pharma industry and all. So in that way, as a vaccine concern, so and that too also disease, if there is like particular disease and how severe it is and all. So that's suppose for hepatitis C vaccine. So even USA and all, Glaxo and all, they had developed the vaccine, but they had given it to their army people, but they are not selling it because it is not their disease. So this disease is prevalent in India, and also India has to make. Similarly, mRNA vaccine for COVID. So they had built in the USA thinking it is safe. It is like it doesn't need more safety, rigorous safety screening. But the cost and the storage of this vaccine, it really have a lot of needs a lot of money. And for India and poor infrastructure, we cannot give this vaccine to our people. That's why India and China, they had both did investment on whole inactivated vaccine, where we can produce, because like our raw material is not costly, because virus we can grow only for production, and just inactivated even in normal temperature also we can give to our people. So this is means we have to work smart and hard. So then only we can achieve this type of hindrance and shortfalls. Thank you.
Nicely you have, thank you, sir. Very nicely you have elaborated the topic. Dr. Patel, your take on this?
I would take this question kind of investment and money point of view. Okay. See, right now human lives were compromised. इतना जल्दी वैक्सीन आ गया, उसमें दैट इज अ गुड न्यूज एक्चुअली. हम तो सब लोग जो जिसकी जिंदगी गई है, सब लोग बोल रहे हैं यार वैक्सीन जल्दी लाओ, वैक्सीन जल्दी लाओ. तो आई डोंट थिंक कि उसको और डिले करना चाहिए. ऑफ कोर्स सेफ्टी प्रोफाइल एंड टॉक्सिसिटी प्रोफाइल आपको इवैल्यूएट करना है. ओके, बट आई फील कि 8 साल 9 साल इट्स अ आउटडेटेड थिंग. मतलब नो वन विल इन्वेस्ट एज अ इन्वेस्टर in where the returns are coming after 8 or 9 years, and that is not sure. See, in India also we can see the 2 or 3 examples. एक वैक्सीन 800 रुपए का मिल रहा है, एक 1500 का मिल रहा है, एक 2000 का मिल रहा है. ओके, अभी जब डेवलपमेंट चालू किया है तीनों लोगों ने, तब वो लोग सब लोगों ने कुछ इमेजिन नहीं किया होता है कि भाई हमें ऐसी मार्केट में जाने के बाद भी कंपटीशन फेस करनी पड़ेगी. ओके, सो 9 साल के बाद जब पता चलेगा कि अरे यार मैं तो सबसे महंगा वैक्सीन दे रहा हूँ, तो मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट तो डूब गया ना. सो नो वन विल बी एनकरेज टू इन्वेस्ट इन दोस काइंड ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म साइकिल. सो शॉर्ट साइकिल रहेंगी तो ऑफ कोर्स एनीवन विल बी इन्वेस्ट रेडी टू इन्वेस्ट. और आप अगर प्रोडक्शन साइकिल में देखोगे तो प्रोसेस डेवलपमेंट की हाउ टू make vaccine from culturing to purifying it to reducing the bioburden and getting a drug substance, वो प्रोसेस डेवलपमेंट इज वेरी शॉर्ट टाइम लेता है, ऑलमोस्ट 6 महीने में अपने पास अभी जो एक्सपीरियंस वर्कफोर्स है बायोटेक्नोलॉजी का, बायोफार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्रीज का, ओके, विद इन 6 मंथ्स आपको प्रोसेस कैरेक्टराइजेशन होके प्रोसेस साइड में हो जाता है। बाकी का जो सब टाइम जाता है, सबसे पहला टाइम जाता है हाइपोथेसाइजिंग में कि भी हमें mRNA वैक्सीन बनाए, डीएनए वैक्सीन बनाए, या ये इनएक्टिवेटेड वायरस वैक्सीन बनाए और कैसे बना सकते हैं। मैक्सिमम टाइम जाता है सेफ्टी एंड एफिकेसी इवैल्यूएशन में, ओके। एफिकेसी भी जल्दी इवैल्यूएट हो जाती है, सेफ्टी प्रोफाइलिंग जो अपना टाइमलाइन है वो काफी ज्यादा जाता है। सो आई वुड डेफिनेटली रिकमेंड कि इफ सेफ्टी इज नॉट कॉम्प्रोमाइज तो टाइम साइकिल का कोई रोल नहीं है, क्योंकि आज सब लोगों ने हमने वैक्सीन लिया, सेफ्टी कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं, एवरीवन इज सेफ। ऑफ कोर्स बाद में एक बूस्टर डोज ले लो, जब पेंडेमिक है तब तो यार भागो।
Good.
Nicely said, sir. So my last question to you is, sir, we are witnessing a vaccine battle between companies right now, comparing their product efficacy and cost. Now with price being capped, how do you standardize productivity expectations, sir?
एक्चुअली सर आपके सवाल में ही जवाब है, कैपिंग होगा तो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन नहीं हो पाएगा, ओके। जो कैपिंग कर रहा है उसको पता होना चाहिए कि भी ओके ये चीज इतने में बन रहा है, इतना मार्जिन इनफ है, ओके, बाकी का पैसा नेक्स्ट फ्यूचर के लिए, डेवलपमेंट के लिए उसको दो, बाद में कैपिंग दो, ओके। अनलिमिटेड मतलब 800 रुपए की चीज 5000 में बेचने में कोई मतलब नहीं है, बट ऑफकोर्स 800 रुपए की चीज है आप 1500 में बेचो, वहां तक ओके है, उससे ज्यादा मत करो। तो कैपिंग एजेंसी जो है उसको ये चीज अंडरस्टैंड करने की जरूरत है कि भी मेरा आगे का फ्यूचर का क्या, ये कंपनी के साथ हमें, पूरे देश को जिसने बचाया है, इस कंपनी को हम आगे और कैसे बड़ा बना सकते हैं कि भाई आगे का कोई भी डिजीज आया है तो फास्टली वो रेडी होगी अपने पास। तो उसका भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देखो, थोड़ा बहुत पॉसिबिलिटी उस टाइम में भी ऐसा है कि गवर्नमेंट भी कुछ इक्विटी शेयर्स उस कंपनी के ले सकते हैं, सो दैट ऐसा घूम फिर के गवर्नमेंट के पास वापस आ जाए। तो वो सारे ऑप्शन है कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर गवर्नमेंट का रहे ताकि फ्यूचर में भी वो बेनिफिट हो। जैसे सर ने बताया कि कोल्ड चेन में इन्वेस्टमेंट करो, उससे अच्छा है, बेटर है कि खुद की वैक्सीन डेवलप करवा दो। पूरा आई थिंक अपना इंडिया का जो वैक्सीन प्रोग्राम है वो गवर्नमेंट को पड़ा होगा ऑलमोस्ट 40,000 करोड़ रुपीज में। 40,000 करोड़ रुपीज में इंडिया खुद के पैर पर खड़ा होगा, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन गया। जब भी आगे कोई फ्यूचर की वैक्सीन बनानी है तो बनानी कैसी है, वो ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज बन गया, जैसे फर्मेंटर्स, वो सब चीजें लग गई है। अभी कुछ भी आएगा तो एटलीस्ट हमें पता है कि चलो सेफ्टी अगर बराबर है तो हम जल्दी से जल्दी वो डिजीज को हम व्हाट वी कैन से हम उसको फाइट कर सकेंगे, ऑफ कोर्स विद द राइट काइंड ऑफ वैक्सीन कैंडिडेट।
Thank you, sir. Dr. Naik, what's your take on this, sir?
So definitely I'll welcome this capping things, because nobody wants to give money more, because a lot of poor people are involved for this vaccination, because it's pandemic time. So and the capping, actually the money is not going directly to the producer who are producing vaccines. So there are a lot of third parties are involved, like you see the private hospital. So they are adding their infrastructure to this vaccine. So that's why they had kept the price. So if you look the price pattern also, like Covishield, you are having 780, Covaxin, you are having 1400, and Sputnik around 11 and all. So that means where government had invested money, more money, so that vaccine is high price. So what does it mean? So that means government want it to give to the people, so that third party will not get benefit out of like government property or government investment things. So that's why rather the private people, they should give more money to government back, so that government can invest it more, and then it can give to the people. So this is a very smart way government had done. So as the business of the vaccine producer is concerned, so I'll suggest them, so they have to have the collaboration with government authority and regulatory official, so that they can decide like what could be the price, and where government ideology is you produce more and sell more, so automatically you will get more benefit. So if your production is less, and then your cost will be so in that way, this is a very hypothetical things that people have to evaluate at enterprise levels to the government and all. and figure it out. It should be cost effective to the public, because vaccine goes to the public. Sometimes government take over everything. So a lot of immunization program is going on where so government is spending on the healthcare and all, and vaccine is the major what according to your word is a currency for everything. So the capping is good at least, but industry, you should not like directly favor to industry. The industry should collaborate with government to reach the people. Thank you.
Well said, Dr. Naik. Yes, when the need of the hour is vaccine for everybody, and government has take a very well initiative, a very nice initiative, so that they have made the vaccine free to everybody for to take. And then also a lot of people are still hesitant to take the vaccine also. A lot of people are not going to take the vaccine, and because there are a lot of misinformation is going on, which needs to be handled. And even though means I would say that even though if the vaccine is 25% or 30% effective also, then also we should go for vaccination. But we need to motivate our people. We need to send this information across to the local mass that yes, vaccine is available and everybody should take it. So thank you, Dr. Naik and Dr. Patel for joining this nice vaccine session with me. We have definitely learned a lot from industry perspective and from basic research perspective, that how we both can collaborate together to make vaccines a good story for benefit of the society and for the benefit of everybody. Thank you, Dr. Patel, and thank you, Dr. Naik, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I would move the session to Dr. Gopal Chaudhary. Do we have any questions from the audience side? You can type your question on the chat box if you have any questions. It seems everybody is hungry and they don't want to ask any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Shubha. So with this, we officially come to the end of the 2-day-long Biotech Industry Conclave 2021. We started yesterday with two keynote sessions, followed by a session on molecular diagnostics and data analytics. And on today's second day, we had a session on human resources and vaccines. So thank all the speakers, Dr. Patel, Dr. Naik, who are here already. So thank you all the speakers for their time and deliberations and discussions. I'm sure students have taken a lot of pointers from this. And thanks a lot, students. Of course, you are here on a weekend, on a Friday and a Saturday weekend. So yeah, thanks again. Thank you all. Thank you the ICT personnel for their help. Of course, in this digital era, ICT is also a very important thing. So thank you, faculty, fraternity, Dean School of Biotech, Dr. Rupenjas Swarsi, KIIT KIIT authorities, Mr. Samantha, Pro Vice Chancellor. So thanks a lot, everyone, and officially declare the conclave closed. Thank you.